discussing the project, I also have to be considering other factors that would be important for its development. So number one, and I'm looking through the prism of kind of post-war outlook, because every war comes to an end ultimately. So basically I'm thinking through the prism of a situation of how it would unfold once the war is over. So basically number one thing that Ukraine as a state is progressing with now is joining the European Union in some hopefully foreseeable future. And this foreseeable future is it could be wide in terms of years, so it's probably anywhere between 3 to 4 or maybe 5 and 6 years. That would also depend probably on the state of war itself, and it would also depend on the progress of various reforms that's been initiated by the Ukrainian government and which are supported by the international donors and partners that are helping Ukraine. So basically under assumption that between 3, 4, and 5 years framework, Ukraine shall be joining the European Union. There would be a number of implications for the country and for our project as well. So number one, it's going to be a much more practical alignment of legal frameworks, in particular legal regulations related to the environmental aspects. And that's having that in mind, we are already trying to develop the project using best practice in terms of how European countries are looking into these ESG principles, etc. Because currently in Ukraine, the environmental and permitting rules and requirements are rather not that stringent. But basically, my assumption is that within 3, 4, 5 years, if Ukraine is to be joining the European Union, we definitely need to be keeping up to par. So we are already looking to the project from this higher standard ESG perspective. So basically, we've spent quite a lot of time working, first of all, on our key parameters, basically the recoveries, right? Because petalite is a different beast than spodumene, and we've actually spent quite a lot of time and looked through various process flow sheets in order to maximize and optimize our recoveries. Back in 2020, we've actually produced the first laboratory sample of the battery-grade lithium. It was lithium carbonate. We've done that at Ansaplan Dorfner laboratory in Germany. And now in 2023, we're doing more hydrometallurgical tests, but now in Finland with Metso. And as I've stated, we are now progressing through the pre-feasibility study, which is actually going to be a 2-chapter study. Chapter 1 being the upstream component, and Chapter 2 being the downstream component. And obviously now with the war going on in the country, there are a lot of practical effects on the development path of the project. Just to give you a couple of examples, I'm now forced to be purchasing and arranging for the drilling operations kind of in-house, because all of the competent international contractors, and there were not that many of them even prior to war, so basically all of them obviously left the country, so I'm stuck with purchasing a couple of drill rigs now in-house, finding teams, etc., and doing drilling in-house. Another thing is that, let's say, progressing with the PFS, ideally I would have been having site visits from all of the various consultants that are working on my PFS. That is not possible now, so I have to be arranging now for drone operations over my site, just to make sure that there is at least a, let's say, a remote site visit, which would enable the teams working for PFS to effectively be doing their jobs. So I'm expecting to be finishing the Chapter 1 of PFS, which shall be dealing with the upstream component sometime end of summer 2023, and the integrated PFS, which would cover both upstream and downstream, would be done by end of 2023, hopefully. Okay, that's a very rough approximation of the timetable for the project. Again, that may go back and forth because of the war, but basically my baseline scenario is that by the end of 2023, I should be finishing PFS and then go the pretty standard route of going through DFS, engineering, and ideally be ready to be starting construction sometime by the end of 2025. But again, there are a lot of ifs for that scenario. We've historically done quite a number of test drilling, etc. Actually, one thing that I have missed to comment on is Ukraine as a country, we have 3 fairly large. We actually have two fairly large lithium deposits and one lithium deposit which is relatively small. So the small one is in Donetsk region, which had been occupied by Russia, so it's kind of off the maps for now. So our deposit, which is Polokhivsky ore deposit, that is the only deposit in Ukraine which has so far already received a production license, and we've been spending quite a lot of time for development since then. And there is a second deposit which is actually like 70 kilometers from our deposit, which is called Dobra, and it's going to be put up for tender by the Ukrainian government, and it's going to be in product sharing agreement tender where the Ukrainian government would like to, attract someone who would be able to be developing that deposit going forward. And potentially we're also tentatively looking to participate and to see maybe we could expand our portfolio by having two deposits which are in pretty close proximity to each other.